On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. So much is going on. The major push is happening, folks. We are literally in a transition period. This is leading into the election. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's probably going to happen, obviously, before the election. Deep State's going to do everything in their power to either win at all costs and or possibly even defer the election. We'll see what happens, how this plays out. Maybe a lot of people don't realize this, but we actually play a larger role in how this plays out than I think a lot of people think. I think a lot of people believe this is already scripted. It's going to happen a specific way. I don't believe that for a second. You might, that's cool. But what I do know is we actually have the ability to affect these outcomes. You guys, when you make your ripples, are actually affecting these outcomes. The deep state has not been able to get stuff to go as far as they needed it to, for as long as they needed it to, and they're failing all over the place. So we're going to continue to see that, I believe. And we'll, of course, talk about it along the way. Great couple memes that we're going to start with. Q-Tips put this one out. Imagine, if you will, a world where every tweet and meme must be fact-checked, but not a ballot. Right? Think about that for a second. It's illegal to make a meme. It's illegal to post something on Twitter that, I don't know, someone might question the facts of. Doesn't matter if it's right, wrong, or different. Who cares? It's illegal to do it, they say. And here we are. Can't look at ballots. It's friggin' hilarious. It's hilarious how this all plays out. We've also got this, it's not really a meme, but it's just a reminder of all of the different institutions that we used to call our mainstream media. But, again, because of Barack Obama, back in 2012, made it legal to be propagandized to by our own media. So that's what they're for. New York Times, the Constitution is sacred. Is it also dangerous? Oh, a bunch of New York Times. It's all New York Times. I thought this was different papers. So again, New York Times very much trying to attack the Constitution. They are so worried about losing power and not removing our Constitution, which was their plan all along. Donald Trump posted this: Happy Labor Day to all of our American workers who represent the shining example of hard work and ingenuity. Under Comrade Kamala Harris, all Americans are suffering during this holiday weekend. High gas prices, transportation costs are up, and grocery prices are through the roof. We can't keep living under this weak and failed leadership. In my first term, we achieved major successes to protect American workers by negotiating free and fair trade deals, passing the USMCA, U.S., Mexico, and Canada, and giving businesses and their workers the tools to thrive. We also invested heavily in education and job training programs for those who wish to expand upon their abilities and be successful in an industry that they love. We were an economic powerhouse, all because of the American worker. But Kamala Harris and Biden have undone all of that. When I return to the White House, we will continue upon our success by creating an environment that ensures all workers and businesses have the opportunity to prosper and achieve their American dream. We will make America great again. A great piece of Bible scripture here. Tori says, shared this with us. I wanted to share a verse that feels perfect for this moment. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That's Galatians 6:9. Keep pushing forward and stay encouraged. And of course, happy Labor Day for the weekend, which is gone now. We're back to work for many of us. All right, the criminals. And there are many. So first, nice little reminder. Sometimes you can't tell the public the truth. You must show them. Only then will people find the will to change. Crimes against children unite all humanity across party lines. Difficult truths. Now, that's one side of this, but the other sides of it, too, are just the sheer amount of criminal activity happening in Chicago, New York. Where else we got? We got a few of these places, right? What's the other one where the Oregon, up there in Aurora, Colorado? Obviously, we got some crazy stuff out there in Oregon. And L.A., I don't know. We'll see. San Francisco, more likely. So again, it's happening in the worst cities. Now, here's kind of the thing, and this is where a little karma comes into play. Some of you guys may live in these cities, and I get it. Hopefully, you're in safe locations. But here's the problem. These cities became nasty because their citizens continued to vote and allow and not complain and just continue to let the deep state move the ball the way they want to. And they've just gone along with it. So now they're paying the price. And I think that's really where this is at and why sometimes people need to see this and realize this isn't working. It's the only way to play it out, right? So we have 5 struck in a mass shooting along popular West Indian Day Festival parade route in New York City. 5 different people were shot. One dude shot in the head, for crying out loud. Supposedly an intentional act, a fire at a crowd at 300 block of Eastern Parkway as the colorful celebration of Caribbean life was underway at about 2:35 p.m. So, again, more violence. Not a good place to live, New York. Also, Elon Musk posted this. When is enough enough? My mother lives in New York, and her friends have been assaulted 3 times this year with no punishment for the attackers. Seriously. When does this get fixed? We've got a little snippet of a cop talking about how he's going to release people. I think this was Colorado, where that particular, it might be New York. I don't know. We'll find out when we get there. Crazy what's happening right now. DC Drano posted this. Whoa! A whistleblower in Aurora, Colorado Police Department is revealing that the Venezuelan gangs aren't just terrorizing a single apartment complex. It's happening across the city. Across the city that they're having these problems in Aurora, Texas. Oh, that's got to make people feel a little better, doesn't it? Now, Jordan Sather, like him or not, this is a great meme that he posted here. Got 3 dudes with a long gun and, well, a rifle, an AR it looks like, and of course a guy with a pistol, another guy with a pistol, trying to knock on your door. Why would anyone need more than 15-round magazine? Is the question they keep asking us. Well, here's your proof. Here's why. Because I'm not necessarily sure I'm only going to need 3 rounds in this particular situation. Hopefully. But this is a concern that many of us have right now. Libs of TikTok posted this. This is pretty crazy. So we've got a group of 32 armed Venezuelans have taken over an apartment building in Chicago. Also, check out the 911 calls.
32 Venezuelans trespassing in the building property, showing guns in the courtyard. They have motorcycles in the courtway, all stairwells filled, and nothing further. Unit 10-3, I'm citywide, person with a gun, 6124 South King Drive. Caller says 32 Venezuelans are trespassing the building, showing guns in the courtyard, and they have motorcycles in the courtyard as well. All stairwells are filled. Nothing further, zone clear.
Literally, people stuck in their own buildings, and they can't even escape the buildings. They've got the stairwells captured. This is what's going on. Venezuelan gangs, once again. Venezuelan gangs. Holy F. A cop tells a citizen who is reporting a crime committed by an immigrant. I've arrested a double homicide suspect in this city before. I let him walk out of the door because we're in a sanctuary city. Let's listen to this fun little conversation that these guys have.
We'll grab his information and see what we can do, but this, like I said,
can you please collect the information? He said that he's already illegal. He already said that he went to...
Okay, hold on, let's back up a little bit. First off, we're a sanctuary city. Even if he is legal here, we cannot call ICE and report him.
But you still have to report that, right?
No, we don't. Because it's a sanctuary city. We do not report illegal undocumented.
So you're going to let a person who went to prison, he committed a crime in America, who's illegal right now, you're going to let him go free right now to this elevator?
That's exactly what I'm saying, because we're a sanctuary city. I've arrested a double homicide suspect in this city before and let him walk out the door because we're a sanctuary city. We're not going to call ICE to come pick him up and report him.
He came to pick up $320,000 from your, him, or mine, grandmother and grandfather, and he's walking away freely right now, right? That's what I'm understanding right now.
I understand that, but you're asking me to call ICE or the...
I'm not asking you to call ICE. We're just asking you to take seriously that he's trying to repeat offend when he's already illegal.
He flew
repeating
from
what
New
he's
York.
already been doing.
He said, I'm in Chinatown in New York. They pay for his...
This is just insane where we're at, but this is where we're at. Venezuelan judge issues arrest warrant for opposition's former presidential candidate. See, Maduro's pissed off that he basically lost the election, and the candidate that was running against him, Edmundo Gonzalez, actually released information that suggested that Maduro lost. Well, now Maduro is wanting to throw him in prison. Same thing they're doing with Donald Trump. Same thing they did with Bolsonaro in Brazil. Same thing they do with everybody that is conservative trying to fight the deep state. This is our future if we do not win. Now, again, I pretty much know how this does play out, but it's possible we could probably screw ourselves so badly we lose. I don't think so at this point. I really don't. I think there's too much of a groundswell. But it is what it is. I hope we can get people to wake up. I hope people start to see what's really going on. Donald Trump truth this out. Maduro's plane has been seized by the U.S. That's okay. He can now go out and get a much bigger and better one with all the money we paid to Venezuela for oil that we don't need. We have more liquid gold than any other nation. How stupid are our leaders? We are a laughingstock all over the world. Donald Trump told us that. Another great post from Tory says something that we want to remember as well.
There's a man not too far away from me who seems to be getting attacked from every angle, every direction and everybody, but he just keeps on going and keeps on rolling. We all know who that is, don't we? My message to him, President Trump, is what someone said to me, and I hold it close to my heart, is remember, God never chooses the prepared. He only prepares the chosen.
The final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media, and we will liberate America from these villains once and for all.
That's right. Once and for all, we are going to stop these people. And it's a must. It has to happen. One of the things we need to consider also, if you're sitting in their system, if you've got your retirement tied up in a 401k or an IRA, and you're sitting in their system right now, highly recommend you get the heck out of Dodge. Get out of their system. You can do it tax-free and penalty-free, by the way. Go to drslikesgold.com. drslikesgold.com. My good friends at Goldco are going to help you through this process. There's a lot of steps that has to happen. There's a lot of questions you're likely going to ask. Get your wealth protection kit first off when you go to drslikesgold.com. 4 data points, and you're going to get your wealth protection kit. Now, here's the other trick. If you're actually in an IRA or a 401k right now, and you literally have one that qualifies, I would actually fill out the data on this particular form, act like you're going to click off the screen, and this will pop up. That way you get a collectible 1/2 ounce silver Ronald Reagan coin. It's worth like, I don't know, what, 16, 17 bucks or whatever? 15 bucks? I don't know, whatever. That's how serious they are about just, hey, give us a chance. Let us show you what we can do. These guys can get you out tax-free, penalty-free, and actually as quick as you can move, as quick as you want. And that's really what is important, I think, right now. We don't have a lot of time left. I don't know when things are going to start to snap and break, but we're very close. You can kind of hear it starting to crack, right? Like ice fracturing off or calving, as they say. It's kind of what we're experiencing right now. We're seeing it. Get out of their system. Let my good friends help you through this process. Ask as many questions as you want. They literally give you physical gold and put it in a trust. That's how it's tax-free and penalty-free. They can't just give you the gold because that's cashing out. So they put it in a trust. You can continue to donate to it. You can draw from it. You can take it all at some point down the road and call it income. You can do whatever you'd like. It gives you options that you don't have right now in your 401k. Not to mention you're tied to a dollar that's inflating badly, and they're talking about raising interest rates because the banks aren't going to survive any longer. Another bad thing, if you're sitting on a bunch of cash right now, because inflation's going to continue to go up, I would literally start to think about buying some gold and just help yourself. Help carry some of that wealth that you've got in your bank account over to whatever tomorrow brings. We don't know if we're getting a new system. We certainly want the Fed out. We know that. They're a private organization. I don't think they survive this. So we got to go to, coining our own money, something in the Treasury? I don't know. But it's going to be backed by precious metals. And so you're going to very easily be able to liquefy or liquidate whatever you've got into a new currency. This is the, I think, easiest way to get out of their system, put your wealth into something that's actually doing really well right now. The prices of precious metals have gone through the roof. Back in March of this year, essentially 17 and change for gold. Right now it's at 25 and change. Silver was at like 22 and change and is now at, 30 or close to it? So again, huge movements in the money. This is a great investment. It's one of the only two things right now that's actually positive asset. It's actually making you money. Literally, you can buy more stuff with the investment than before. And that's one of the only differences right now. You got stocks and everything else that are not doing as well. They're up, they're fine, they're up a little bit, but when you take in inflation and you look at buying power, they're way down. Homes are the same way. The value of homes, it's the same box of goods, and it's worth 3 times as much as it was 20 years ago? It's the same thing, yet it's inflated that much. We're in a bad place. Get out of their system. They're trying to take it from you. They want you broke. They want you eating bugs. Get out of their system. Go to drslikesgold.com. drslikesgold.com. Get moving on this process. Don't know when and where and how this stuff starts to play out, but I'll tell you this. They want you broke. Get out of their system before they get out of you. drslikesgold.com. drslikesgold.com. All right, a lot of failing stuff going on right now. Here's a epic place to start it all off.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a strong candidate with a proven track record of accomplishment. As the first female vice president, Harris has already broken down a major gender barrier, and her career in politics has been characterized by a commitment to progressive ideals and a focus on helping disenfranchised communities.
So they can't say anything positive about Trump unless you're talking to Grok, but they can say something positive about Kamala. But if you caught, they said, well, I can't give any advice about a specific candidate or a specific party. But the second she asks about a specific candidate and specific party that's on the Democrat side, oh, she had all sorts of thoughts, all sorts of wonderful thoughts. Here's wobbly Biden. They say wobbly. I don't know, whatever. But here's Joe Biden. Apparently he's not allowed to go out in public anymore. They're worried something's going to happen to him. My guess is his 25th Amendment. So maybe they're thinking about assassinating Joe Biden instead to get him out of the way that way. That's possible. And then they try to blame it on a Trump person. So it sounds like Biden's like, yeah, I ain't going to play that game. I'm not interested in getting shot. Y'all have to 25th Amendment me, or I'm going to stay here until the end of this run. You'll see. But here's him talking about it.
President, how was it to be back on the campaign trail today?
It was good.
Good. How do you feel about Pennsylvania?
Except I'm not able to go out in the crowds anymore. The Secret Service doesn't let me.
No, why not?
Well, because it says too dangerous. No one gets to go out. Really not? You know, serious.
How do you feel about Pennsylvania right now?
I feel real good about Pennsylvania. I think we're going to win Pennsylvania.
Is the chick he's talking to, like, on her knees, right? Like, people don't seem, like, this dude next to him, I want to see if I can find it, right? This guy's, I don't know, about head level. He's looking at him or something. Then he talks to this chick. She's, like, way down here. What is she, a friggin' midget? What is going on? What is going on? Hey, midget, what you doing down there? While you're down there, got something you can do? Let me sniff your hair. I don't know what he'd say. That's probably what he'd say. J.D. Vance posted this. As Kamala Harris talks a big game about standing up for workers, remember that her administration wanted to fire hundreds of thousands of people for refusing the COVID shot. It's all fake, like her entire campaign. Talking points borrowed from President Trump to hide her record. And they sure are trying to hide their record. Needless to say, they're failing. Elon Musk posted this. I can't wait. There's a lot of waste and needless regulation in government that needs to go. And this is in response to that group that Trump's going to bring him in, or he's going to be in charge of this group to help thin down government and help shave off some of the waste. And Elon Musk has not only, one, been more or less asked to do this, but two, he's looking forward to it. We've got some very interesting times before us, guys. This is going to be a fun little snippet that we got to go through here in the next couple months. But we've got a lot of things to look forward to. We've got to get through the last part of the year, too, once the election has been resolved, assuming it does. At some point, they've got to kind of make that kind of happen, too. So we got a good, interesting number of months. I'd say, 3-4 months probably are going to be pretty interesting. We'll see how it all plays out. Eric Trump had a wonderful post here, and I want to share it. Let's see if the best way to share this. Oh, yeah, let's do it this way. I don't know why it wouldn't let me see that. Really? No, it's kind of weird. Anyway. All right, so Eric Trump's, the post that he shared anyways, considering that Hamas chose to execute an American hostage with a bullet to the back of the head during the last 2 to 3 days, along with 5 other hostages, whose parents just spoke at the DNC less than 2 weeks ago while hostage negotiations were underway. Considering that the U.S. strategy over the last 330 days has been to pressure Israel to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza, including through the withholding of weapons from Israel and by periodically leaking our failure to support our ally to the media in the midst of a hostage negotiation. Consider what pressure, if any, the U.S. has brought to bear on Hamas and our friends in the region who harbor Hamas's leadership. Why? Why has our leadership adopted this failed strategy? Because at POTUS Biden, who has been on vacation for 16 days, and at Kamala Harris, who also just skipped a ceremony at Arlington Cemetery to honor 13 fallen soldiers from the failed Afghanistan withdrawal, along with their advisors in the DNC, believe they will lose important votes in certain key swing states and from Hamas's supporters on campuses. It has been proven time and time again that the only thing that terrorists understand is brute force. Rather than pressure Israel, the United States should have put more pressure on the other allies in the region to help, and done everything we can to help Israel defeat Hamas and recover the hostages. But, unfortunately, this was not good politics for Biden-Harris, but some of their supporters. By being weak and lacking resolve, we failed our captured, now dead citizens and other hostages and their families while emboldening terrorists around the world. The result? It has become much less safe to be an American since October 7th because of our failed leadership. It has become much less safe to be a member of the free world since October 7th because of our failed leadership. We are in desperate need for a change in leadership, so our enemies once again fear the United States and think twice before they act against us or our allies. The time has come, unquestionably. Ex-Cuomo Hochul aide and her husband, this is so sad, such a beautiful Asian lady, definitely doing some really horrible stuff is what we're finding out. So the husband and her have been arrested in a corruption probe after feds raided her $3.5 million home. There is the hottie, Linda Sun, and her husband, Christopher Who? Christopher. Yeah, that's who. He was arrested in Long Island. I don't know if they say it that way. They're Asian, right? They probably don't go Long Island. I think that would be funny, though. That would be freaking awesome to hear someone very Chinese-looking talk like a New Yorker. Messes with my head. It's kind of funny when that happens. All said, this lady is bad news. Let's talk about some of the bad stuff that she's done because it hurts me. It pains me. One article that's been put out about her says corruption-related case. I guess, yeah, okay. I thought this was the one where I had the wiki page. That's something else. Article says corruption-related case. Okay, yeah, that's totally unrelated, but okay, sorry. Related, but not. We'll see. You'll see when we get there. Anyway, as deputy director of the New York State Department of Labor, Linda was one of 400 invitees to an event at the Chinese consulate in New York City last year. Here she is receiving an award letter at that event. Well, they framed it for her even. That's fantastic. Sun had worked for the New York State Department for about a decade, but she was fired just 2 months after this event for misconduct. And that was immediately reported to law enforcement. So she did some big no-nos. What else did she do? Well, former high-ranking New York State government employee charged with acting as an undisclosed agent of the People's Republic of China and the Chinese Communist Party. Supposedly this gets all into potentiality that she's been, one, taking money, of course, but two, supposedly trafficking people and stuff. As alleged, while appearing to serve the people of New York as deputy chief of staff within the New York State Executive Chamber, the defendant and her husband actually worked to further the interests of the Chinese government and the CCP. The illicit scheme enriched the defendant's family to a tune of millions of dollars. Our office will act decisively to prosecute those who serve as undisclosed agents of a foreign government. Let's see. As alleged in the indictment, Linda Sun, a former New York State government employee, acted as an undisclosed agent of the Chinese government while her husband, Christopher Hu, facilitated the transfer of millions of dollars in kickbacks for personal gain. Sun wielded her position of influence among executives to covertly promote PRC and CCP agendas, directly threatening our country's national security. The FBI is committed to protecting the American people from any threat actor who seeks to influence officials at the direction of foreign entities. It's okay if it's like inside and they've already taken us over. They can do whatever they want, and the FBI will leave them alone. But if you're outside this country, apparently the FBI still has issues with you. Sun also alleged to be an undisclosed agent. Where's the thing when they talk about laundering money? There's that. Laundered millions of dollars, foreign country, and used the moment to buy some luxury vehicles and properties, unwavering determination of federal law enforcement to root out foreign agents in the schemes. They now face criminal acts. There was something somewhere where I read that they were trafficking kids or people, either or. Needless to say, as beautiful as she might be, she is a bad, bad apple. The tomb of Gilgamesh. This is just trippy. Also kind of fits into how our government works. And why we don't understand the actual reality and truth of the world we live in. We've made up so many fake stories. So this is kind of a trip. Anyway, check this out.
Have you ever heard of the story of Gilgamesh? The story was written 2000 BC. The story talks about how he was 2/3 God and 1/3 man. The claim was that he was 17 feet tall.
Oh, man.
And he was this brutal king, like a tyrant. But the story goes that he was buried under the Euphrates River.
That's drying up.
Well, here's the thing. In 2003, archaeologist by the name of Jörg Fassbinder, he was in the Mesopotamia area doing like the whole LiDAR thing. And what he said is, I have found the tomb of Gilgamesh.
Oh my gosh.
But it's underground, right? So they have to like dig it up. Guess what happened 1 month later?
Earthquake.
The U.S. invades Iraq.
Oh my gosh!
No way!
This is where it gets crazy.
Yeah.
All the archaeological sites were then stopped in Iraq, so stop digging, you're out of here. And the U.S. military set up an encampment around the tomb site. But the locals around this encampment reported that the U.S. military were digging at night, taking things out of the ground and putting them onto trucks and driving them off.
We're villains.
We are Dr. Evil.
Is that not? I mean,
that's crazy. Where'd you learn this?
A bunch of.
This information is not suitable for the viewing public. The government is here to protect.
So much are, aren't they? Dude, that's so creepy the way that ended. I love it. Kind of reminds me, for any of you guys that played video games, video game Half-Life. Yeah, that director guy. That's such a good video game series. Anyway, whatever. Don't want to. That's like tiny percentage of you guys probably know that game, but so much fun. Health issue experts fear RFK Jr.'s dangerous influence on Trump. Let's take a look at those health experts. Well, the big fatty fatso up at the top left, that's Quebec, or the Quebecois, if you want to be douchey and sound douchey at the same time. It's the Quebec, or if you say it in English, it's Quebec. Whatever the case is, he's a big fat fuck. Belgium, giant fat lady. England, big fat lady. USA, big fat man. Interesting. Huh. These are our health experts that are worried about what RFK Jr. is saying. You know, the guy that's super buff and actually in great shape. Yeah, aside from his voice and stuff. Which someone told me had to do with like a worm in his brain or some weird shit. I don't know. Guy's a little shaky in the hands, too. He's got some weird stuff. I saw a video of him holding a lizard, and he's like, I don't know. He's whatever the case is. He's not the healthiest in that regard. So something kind of jacked up. Whatever the case is, dude's ripped. Bad Kitty Unleashed posted this. Breaking election news. In New Hampshire, a cybersecurity firm found troubling security bugs and the Ukrainian national anthem written into a voter database built with the help of an overseas subcontractor. A Connecticut-based IT firm had offshored part of its work. That meant unknown coders outside the U.S. had access to the software that would determine which New Hampshireites would be welcome at the polls this November. Also found was election software, quote, misconfigured to connect to servers in Russia, and the use of open source code, which is freely available online, overseen by Russian computer engineer convicted of manslaughter. Just saying, this was found in New Hampshire. New Hampshireites, make some dang noise. You guys got a major problem too. We got problems here in California as well. I'm just saying, try our best to get this info out there. From the Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo will testify publicly before Congress for the first time regarding his COVID-19 nursing home policies at a COVID Select hearing on September 10th. So we'll see what Governor Cuomo, or ex-Governor Cuomo, whatever, has to say in regards to all that. Now, this video is kind of messed up, but what this lady says is concerning, and this gets into the same line as how much corruption we have in this government and how hard it's been to root it out and get attention to it, but we are making progress, unquestionably. So, bad video, great words that she says here. Check it out.
Well, I wanted to bring to everybody's attention something that doesn't get much attention, and you've heard the term follow the money. So I looked up where did follow the money. I thought it was from a Tom Cruise movie, but it wasn't. It was from Watergate. And follow the money is what they did in Watergate, and we saw what happened. So my young staffer, who's very bright, and I see him over there, Adam Pack, followed the money. And the money is from the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. So in the name of green and environmental justice, there's over $40 billion that are going to be granted out through the EPA. So, with this great research that was done, what was discovered that in December, the EPA granted $50 million to an organization called Climate Justice Alliance. So we went to the website of Climate Justice Alliance. This is what we found on the website, that our taxpayer dollars are going to organizations such as this. This, at the bottom, is a picture of the bulldozer that went through the fence when Hamas attacked Israel on October the 7th. They have a rendering on their website. It says decolonize Palestine, and it has a picture of that same bulldozer going through that fence. If you dig deeper, they want to defund the police, defund the military, either them or their affiliates want to have very radical, drastic initiatives that I think are anti-American. And they're certainly anti-Israel and anti-Semitic. So the Biden administration doesn't seem to care. $50 million in December. Who knows how much more in the future, and other like groups, because there are other associated groups with this group. There's no inspector general for EPA to follow the money because they don't care. Because all they care about is the mission, the climate mission, no matter what the radical ideas that are associated with the groups. So then you could ask yourself, is this group really going to be funding climate, cleaning up the water and cleaning up the soil and cleaning up the air? Or are they going to be funding things like the protests they had in Hart just several weeks ago, where several of them were arrested? So follow the money. We're going to be doing that in the Environment and Public Works Committee. That's where the derivation of this was. And I find it rather startling to me that the EPA is not doing, and the administration are not doing any better research as to where our American taxpayer dollars are going.
Now, it's funny, and it's kind of like baked into the thing that she says, and I guess you kind of have to do that, otherwise you sound like you're nuts probably to the asleep people. But there's this whole idea that the government doesn't lie to us, that they aren't intentionally screwing us over. So there's that whole like, well, they're obviously going to have to do a better job at this because they're failing. It's like they're intentionally doing this. This is not an accident. This is intentionally happening. Yet, I guess Congress members have to make it sound like it's, an accident. Somehow this got out in front of us. We don't know how it did. I've got a bunch of good stuff from Kash Patel. He's definitely made his moves. This isn't Kash. I just realized this is Tucker, but I've got Kash coming up next, and I've got another one of his things in the Trump thing. We've got such good stuff today. Love it. Check it out. Let's try to do this properly, though. I'm so used to the other things when I open it, it starts at the beginning. Twitter doesn't do that.
I mean, you look at how they respond to somebody like Orban, and like they would color revolution that dude in a second if they thought they could get away with it. If they didn't
By the
think
way,
it was
I know Orban well. He's hardly like a right-wing crazy.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like very moderate and kind of like liberal in an 80s way.
I think that's probably the only reason they don't try it is they know that like his chief opposition is far to the right of him. So that's probably why they don't do it. But
well, he's like the least extreme world leader I've ever met.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like I get a similar sense from Mr. Putin in Russia where, you know, he's a hard man. You don't drag Russia out of its state in the 1990s without being a hard man. But it's probably hoping for a little too much that whoever follows him up, you know, if we were to do something that would end his rule, that whatever would come next would be beneficial to us.
Okay, so Trump, Orban, and Putin, I can say, this is my perception of all three of them, is that none of them is particularly ideological. All three are pretty sincere nationalists, not like crazed ideological nationalists, but just sort of want to do the best for their country. None of them is like a religious nut, and none of them is like especially right wing. They're all in the 1984, 5, 6 context. They would be sort of moderate, maybe conservative Democrats, liberal Republicans. Like they're not at all what people claim they are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, the post World War II order is really defined by the fact that, you know, after Nuremberg, it really became effectively illegal in the West to be like genuinely right wing. Like the things we call right wing, I mean, it's all flavors of liberalism, basically, right? And like if you go back and read pre-war conservatives, pre-war right wing writers, in Europe, like literally in a lot of places, it became illegal to be that way, right? And here again, it's not quite illegal, but we have control mechanisms that are almost as effective.
U.S. government's had a lot of people to prison over the years for their political views. A lot.
That's true.
A lot of people, political views. And again, one thing that's sort of going to be weird, I think, for a lot of us is I'm going to kind of put this out there, and it's going to bug some people, I think. Well, people on the left, brainwash people, it's going to really bug. I want to say Putin, thank God Putin woke up when he did and got control of his country when he did and started to realize what he was up against. And I'm sure he's had discussions with people like Trump and others and like kind of literally what they're actually trying to do. But thank God Putin realized we were fighting the deep state and not each other, because all these possibilities to start World War III would have happened had Putin not understood that's what they're trying to get him to do. So how do you respond in a way to save face for your nation, but at the same time not give the enemy what they want, which is an overarching, this is just decimation of the surface planet, the surface population. And I say it specifically that way because they're all going underground, big time. Interesting. I don't know. I mean, I'm not surprised it's Cardi B, and I'm wondering if she's aware of this, because the way it's written, you almost don't see it. So it's kind of funny in that regard. And I almost wonder, did she just do this shoot in front of a green screen? And then they morphed in the background later. So I'm not trying to give points to Cardi B, but what I am acknowledging and what I have learned over the past number of months especially is, and like Pink is someone I think of in this regard too, they've been taken advantage of by people. They're literally I don't think a lot of these guys actually realize it's the symbolism. Those that are doing all this hand gestures and shit, yeah, they get it. Like your Yeeves and some of those types of people. But I don't know, whatever the case is, she posted this, so she knew what the finished product looked like. But it says pedophile right on the back. Cardi B, sitting on some awesome-looking motorcycle, rather large one. She's looking pretty fat right now, too. I mean, I don't know if she's pregnant or something, but damn, I guess. But all said, pedophile in the background. Strange that they just put it right there in front of us like they do. Kash Patel talking about the idea of a blackout. This is, honestly, I'm going to pull the advertiser over here right now because this is a better place for it. I'm going to talk to you guys about this because there's going to be probably blackouts, very large chance of blackouts. Kash Patel is going to talk about it here in a second. I just want to remind you guys of a really great group that I've been lucky enough to get involved with. This is battery backup power. Okay, 1500 stands for 1500 consecutive watts. They actually have, if you just go to the this little drop down where the text Flex Tactical 1500, where it says that, there's other, you can go to power sources, or there's a number of choices, and there are some smaller ones. The link that they built for me, and it's Energy Tech, I-N-E-R-G-Y, so energy with an I, Energy Tech, T-E-K. They have to spell it weird, but whatever the case is, it's actually an American company. These have a metal outside. For those of you that understand physics, or at least E&M, when you have a metal outside, or what we call a Faraday cage, you've actually got some protection from EMP because you've got an electric box around. Many of you might not know this. In an electric storm, if you've got a car, cars are actually a really safe place. You've got a metal cage around you, and if lightning strikes the car, you will actually be safe inside the car. Believe it or not. It'll be loud as hell, and it'll probably be something you'll never forget. But it's an extraordinarily safe place to be. So you might want to take advantage of that without a doubt. Now, I got to fix this because I will never remember otherwise. There we go. Okay. Make that a little smaller, right? There we go. But yes, Energy Tech with an I, I-N-E-R-G-Y, T-E-K. These are American-made. This is an American company, and they actually make these for the military. These are high grade. I have one. It's heavy as hell. It's like 35 pounds. I'd show it to you. It's pretty cool. They call this the head unit. So the whole top part's actual head unit, and then underneath is the battery. Now, you can buy multiple batteries if you're in one of those situations too. This also has the ability to link up 4 solar panels to it. 4 solar panels at 100 watts each. If you actually charged it that full force, which is pretty insane, but if you're someone that likes to RV a lot, you literally can charge this whole thing in about 3 hours. If you plug it into a wall socket, that'll take about 8-9 hours to charge fully, from dead to good. But solar panels, if you have 4 of them, you can charge this thing in 3 hours. You get 3 hours of good sunlight, this thing's back in action. So it does 1,500 continuous watts. It does 3,000 watt spikes. And of course, they've got, I think, a 1,250, I think 1,000. They've got a few different versions of this. They're not cheap. I will say that. But what you get is incredible. There's a thing called EcoFlow. That's the one made by China. I actually own one of those as well. I've got about 3 of these little battery things. The reason I think they're important at my house is for refrigerators. I have some stuff in the freezer that I would never want to lose, especially I bought some of it because I was expecting the end of the world. I certainly is not going to lose it when the end of the world comes. So I can run my refrigerators with no problems, and I've got a couple of them. So the EcoFlow is made of plastic. It's kind of flimsy. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. This thing's heavy duty. It's rugged. It's friggin' America. Like, it's got America written all over it. So if you're somebody that RVs a lot, if you're somebody that realizes that our power grids are going to be in question, if you realize that we just need to be prepared, this is one of those things you want to have. Again, you have refrigeration, and I ran my giant flat screen TV on this thing. I plugged this in and ran my giant flat screen TV. Surprisingly, it only used about 400 watts. Kind of blew me out. I was like, holy crap, I got to run that and a refrigerator. This can run a lot of stuff. You can charge multiple laptops. You can charge your cell phone for days and days and days. It can also be charged by, plug it into your Tesla. There's ways to charge this thing from that. People might have one of those. There's like 3 million of you, but whatever. This is an incredible product. Go to energytech.com. At least check out the company. Get familiar with them. This is the Tactical 1500. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece of equipment. They've got the solar panels. It's all stuff. There's accessories. It's quite an awesome piece of equipment. I'll just tell you that. And it's legit. It's heavy duty. And again, American made. American people working on this. That's a big deal to me. I don't want that Chinese crap. I want this thing, and I have it. It's awesome. And I know I'll be okay when the lights go out. energytech.com/on the fringe. Energytech, INERGYTEK. Energytech.com/on the fringe. Use that coupon code. And also right now, they're doing this extra thing. You give them your email address. I don't know if the phone number is necessary, probably. And you hit continue. You're going to get $75 also on top of the already, I think, 10% discount you get using my coupon code. Incredible products. Helping the channel, of course. But most importantly, making sure you and your family are going to be okay, that you're going to have that frozen food. Or for those of you that like to do a lot of off-roading, RVing, to make sure you've guaranteed got power. This thing is awesome. Go to energytech.com/on the fringe. Make sure you've got yourself dialed in for the big picture. All right, so here is Kash Patel talking about something that's very likely impossible. But again, we remember the blackout scenario is something that Q posts talk about, okay? Just because the Q post makes it sound like the good guys were behind it or whatever, and then it happens and we blame China or whoever, doesn't mean the good guys weren't behind it. Just means the deep state's saying it was China. Keep that in mind, because the way they play the story up is about hacking, and we've already seen it happen. Cash got a lot to say. I don't want to interrupt it. I'm going to go to 1.2 speed because I've got another 8-minute thing of his as well that's coming up. But again, Cash is a rock star, and I love what he has to say, and I friggin' hope he's involved in the next administration. That'd be rad.
How vulnerable is it to outside attacks?
Big. It's big because once they hit it, we can't fix it fast. I mean, look, we just saw Paris during the Olympics just got blacked out. Ain't a coincidence after the opening ceremonies. And I think President Trump has talked about this. You need to overhaul the infrastructure around these systems to safeguard us from what I view as one of the easier threats our adversaries can deploy against America. And it's also, those are harder to trace too. So that's the other thing. The sourcing would be much harder on that than, say, a kinetic operation like a 9/11 style attack.
I mean, is there any contingency plans up at the top on if that were to happen?
So there's this thing called COOP-COG capabilities, like continuity of government, and everybody's heard about locations around America. Can't really talk about, but there's a continuity plan for government to keep going, and for enough personnel to be around to make sure we can do all those things and supposedly defend the nation and have the commander-in-chief and his cabinet secure and do all that. But there's no contingency plan to say, if you wipe out the electricity west of the Mississippi, how are we going to turn it on? It doesn't exist.
I mean, that's great that government's still going to function, but...
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm getting at is if the grid goes down, we'll eventually just kill ourselves out of desperation. There will be no food, there'll be no water, there'll be no medical, there'll be no communication. There'll be no nothing.
I guess it'll be like one of those end of the world shows, you know?
I mean, did they talk about this up there? At that level? Do they even understand what will happen if the grid goes down
I know we did when we were in. I know we did. And again, this is a type of lift that you're not fixing overnight. You got to get Congress's buy-in to budget this, to allow the agencies and department to go in and make this a priority, to allow companies to come in and rebuild the infrastructure and fix it. Same with our nuclear programs and our nuclear arsenal. It's the same deal.
So we're fucked.
I think we have an ability. That's why I think this election is so important, not just for everything we've talked about to this point, but in terms of national security and defense, which is sort of my wheelhouse. We have an opportunity to come in and reprioritize all the things that you and I have just been talking about so that the American people are safeguarded, because they've been neglected for too long, because these are not been priorities of the current administration and some of the previous administrations.
How likely is that method of attack, do you think, from Russia, Iran, Korea, China?
Something's going to happen, if not already. Here's the other thing. The intel community right now is playing catch up on half these attacks because, again, it wasn't a priority to preemptively detect them and thwart the attack. And so not only playing catch up, not only is it a deprioritization of intelligence collection and enforcement, you also don't have a will in DC to fix and upgrade any of this stuff. So I've always said they're gonna come at us in some fashion during this election cycle. I don't know exactly what that's gonna look like, or if we're gonna know right away.
What do you think about what I was telling you this morning about the pristine opportunity to hit us? When I was talking about, I don't think, I wasn't saying I don't, it's not a prediction, it's what I would do. And it seems to me we would be, let's say Trump gets in, day one of his presidency would be the weakest possible point that they could hit us.
Yeah.
Correct? Because from that point forward,
yeah,
the way I think, the country will begin to strengthen. So it would be at the weakest point on day one of his presidency. And so if I was them, I would wait until he is elected and hit on day one. Whereas if they don't hit and Kamala or whoever they decide to stick in there, who knows, right? Then we'll see 4 more years of weakening, which will enhance the probability of them coming out on top.
Look, I think that analysis is pretty spot on in terms of timely timeliness for our adversaries to decide on when's the most opportune time for them to strike. I think there's one other factor that we talked about at breakfast that may alter that a little bit, which is there's so much bad stuff going on right now that our adversaries have collectively kicked off against us, whether it's the border, whether it's the never-ending war in Ukraine, whether it's the war in Israel, whether it's the CCP and what they're doing or going to do in Taiwan, whatever's going on in Africa, whether it's Afghanistan and its resurgence of Al-Qaeda. There's so many things going on, and I think an adversary that traditionally might have waited to that opportune day might come in the interim and say, these guys have no idea how to defend what we can put out there right now. So maybe they go now. Maybe they go in the interim in the next 100 and whatever it is, 4 days or something like that. But they've already done three things that nobody said would ever happen. Started 2 new world wars in Ukraine and Israel, and allowed China and the CCP to flex their muscles on Taiwan. Everybody's like, that's never going to happen. Well, it didn't happen under Trump. It all happened now. And we haven't even talked about DPRK, their new program, their rockets. That guy has been having a party this entire time. Or Venezuela, right? You know, people forget about how bad some of these regimes are for global stability when they're not in the news every day. And I think that's advantageous for their leadership, and they see it. And they're like, all right, well, let's figure this out. Because at the end of the day, all they care about is themselves.
How vulnerable are we to cyber threats?
Big time.
What are the other vulnerabilities?
From our adversaries specifically?
Yes.
We talked about everything coming in from the border, huge collective threat. That's just going to keep growing and metastasizing. And that includes a lot more of the physical stuff, right? The crime, the fentanyl, the narco trafficking, the sex smuggling, that kind of stuff. The cyber stuff is in a different lane, but could expose us just as much, if not worse. And I think we're very, very, very vulnerable to that. Just look at what CrowdStrike did, you know? Shut down. That's an American company run by James Comey's buddy.
Is it really?
Yeah. James Comey's former number 2 is Sean Henry, the COO, whatever it is. And if this company can get as big as it did, mind you, this is the same company, CrowdStrike, that the FBI, when Donald Trump was getting to the presidency and James Comey was the director, remember the whole DNC hack from Russia, another disinformation campaign? They said the Russians hacked the DNC to try to rig the election for Donald Trump. Comey gave the servers from the DNC to CrowdStrike to exploit. Have you ever heard of a time that the FBI surrendered its investigation to a private entity and didn't conduct its own surveillance and exploitation of that data? I interrogated Sean Henry.
Yeah, I mean, just the insanity of what they did during that CrowdStrike. Like I said, I know 2 people, one very well, that worked there. One's retired. So crazy stuff. It's been going on for a long time. Guys, this has been going on for a long time. Just conspiracy theorists have been talking about it. But now, yeah, everyone's on board, or everyone's a conspiracy theorist. Whatever. Works fine either way for me. With this many corrupt people hating him, he must be right. I don't want to try and name everybody. I could probably get most of them. But that was when I knew, by the way. That was when I knew. That's when I knew game was on. I literally expected that at some point in my life, all this crazy shit would happen, and I was supposed to be part of uniting humanity. Don't even ask me how I'd come to this understanding, but I lived life very like working for God, helping God, and just everything led to everything, and it led to the next thing, and I just kept kind of, learning skills, doing stuff that it was fun for me and I enjoyed, and I knew I was here to do. And then, yeah, all of these people, and many more, came out against this one dude. I'm like, I don't even like him, but nobody's that bad. Nobody. Like, I didn't like Obama. I didn't like Clinton. I didn't like Bush. I didn't like either of them folks at all. Thought they sucked. And I mean, Junior for sure. Daddy Bush, I will say, I guess I kind of liked, I don't know. Like Reagan, I was like, I kind of dug. My dad was a Republican back then. And so Daddy Bush was his vice president. So I didn't know at the time that he was as corrupt as he was. I had learned that later. But needless to say, it was still a crazy world that we're in. And yeah, we're all a part of this bigger event. So New York prosecutors, they're urging judge to reject Trump's delay tactics. It's a big, long article. This has to do with the whether Smith is actually legally there. I played a part of that interview yesterday when they were asking Merrick Garland about that. I think it was Massey. I had the full 5.5 minutes, which was actually slightly better. I wish I would have played that yesterday, and I almost played it today, but we're already long as it is. But this whole thing's a mess, and Jack Smith's probably not legally there. So Congress is trying to handle it from their angle. I think it's going to help the Supreme Court in their angle, and then it's going to help Trump in his angle. So this is the trifecta that is coming together. Secret Service failed, apparently, to prevent a juvenile from trespassing Mar-a-Lago for, I guess, an hour. I guess this individual was jumping in the pool, did cannonballs, even some of the story says. Like, okay, that's relevant. Now, PM's a site I like. I know they pulled the story from somewhere, but it's insanity. Crabtree pointed out the seemingly hypocrisy that after a drunken intruder entered the home of Biden's national security advisor Jake Sullivan in the middle of the night last year, the Secret Service removed 2 Presidential Protective Division supervisors from that detail. But in regards to Trump, nobody's been removed. Even thus far, I don't even think from his assassination. I don't know. We know 5 people were removed from the company, or put on suspension or whatever. I don't know if any of them were on his particular detail. But this is all, I don't know, strange. 2, a dude was in the pool. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's stupid. But the pool's sort of close to where Trump lives. Okay. But the pool's also where people swim. Strangers all the time. I don't think Secret Service has to, vet every single person that goes in the pool. I doubt it. And many have said this is part of the difficulty with, 1, protecting Trump at a nightclub, is what they call Mar-a-Lago, because they want to refer to it as a nightclub to minimize, 1, its value, and 2, minimize the fact that Trump is asking for more support and he doesn't get it. So this is also, the story is meant to drum up that emotion inside of you. I don't like playing by the rules, so it drummed up a whole bunch of different thoughts inside of me. No emotion, so it's what it is. Oh, here's more Kash Patel. I love this. I just love this dude. I don't know why. He's awesome. I hope to God he's in the next administration. I kind of hope I'm involved with these guys to a weird degree. I say that. I don't know. I doubt it'll happen, but I don't know. I'd be willing. I'd be willing to somehow help.
Friend is not here because otherwise the 2 of us together in the same room might be causing a problem. Corey Mills, one of the greatest representatives we have in the House right now, a warrior for this country, a Special Forces veteran. If you want to know someone who knows how to take the fight to these people, these government gangsters in Washington, D.C., I'm so happy to have him. Corey, thanks for coming on the show. How you doing, my friend?
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it wasn't Special Forces, but 82nd, and so I got to get my airborne brother and let him know airborne all the way.
I love it. I love it. So I know we got a lot going on, and we appreciate you breaking down a couple of things for us. I do want to start with, if I can, does everybody remember that President Trump was shot in the head? It seems like it didn't happen. It seems like the mainstream media just glossed over it. Now they're like, whatever. So thankfully, we have guys like Corey Mills leading out an investigation on the assassination of a former president who's running for the presidency of the United States, a guy who was hit in the head with a bullet. And I still don't have any more answers from the United States Congress committee that was stood up on this. But thankfully, Corey's running his own investigation. Can you give us a background on what you've been doing and what the results are and what headwinds you're running into?
Yeah, absolutely. And Kash, you're exactly right. Look how quickly they glanced over in mainstream media an attempted assassination of the Republican nominee and the former president of the United States of America. I mean, it's as if it had never taken place. And meanwhile, you had a commission which was stood up by Speaker Johnson, which I'll be completely honest, had nothing to do with meritocracy and everything to do with trying to cover the multiple parts of the conference to ensure everyone feels equally represented within the conference, as opposed to saying, we're not looking at trying to just do a kumbaya moment. We're trying to get facts here. And so that's why myself and Congressman Eli Crane out of Arizona, we started running our own parallel investigation. And in that independent forum, we brought in great members like Andy Biggs and Chip Roy and Matt Gaetz. And we were able to start bringing in witnesses to start getting to the point to include whistleblower Ben Schaefer, who was actually one of the counter snipers on the ground July 13th there in Butler, PA. So what we're understanding is this. We know that, and Kash, I'm going to go ahead and say the obvious. If this was a real investigation, it would have happened on July 14th. You'd have immediately subpoenaed the security plan, the comms plan. You'd have started bringing people in for independent questioning. You'd have done corroborations of what fact fiction boards that we could put into place. And we'd have started to determine pure and simple, was this gross criminal negligence? or was this purposeful intent? Now, here's the problem when you've waited this long. They've had enough time in the federal government. We know, go back to FISA and how it was abused 287,000 plus times by the FBI. Go to the Department of Justice, where it's been weaponized to a point where it's after, your political opponent not trying to find truth and justice. We know that the federal government at this point has probably gone back and memorialized documents to say July 9, July 10, July 11, to try and act as if they've dotted the I's and crossed the T's. But what we have found is this. We know that they were offered compatible comms plan and a compatible radio by the local law enforcement, and Secret Service denied it. We know that local law enforcement offered a surveillance drone and drone capabilities for the day of the actual rally, and the Secret Service denied it. We know that there was a final day of planning that was supposed to happen in the morning of July 13th, and the Secret Service didn't come. We know that after the shooting that was taking place by Thomas Crooks, that you had people on the stage who didn't even know what the security plan was, because you can hear them going, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? That should have been an automatic prep and training to say, we know the motorcade is a rolling safe room, or that we already have a safe room that we're moving them to in the event of an accident or some type of an incident. So none of this has been done.
Sorry, I hate to interrupt.
Please.
Can I just jump in real quick? I just learned more. You're my buddy. I just learned more about what happened at the attempted assassination attempt of Donald Trump in the last 60 seconds than I have in the last 45 days from the United States Congress and the committee they stood up. So, Corey, thank you for breaking that down. Now, a lot of our viewers might not even know what some of the verbiage you use means, but at least they know the things that were offered and the things that were denied and the levels of incompetence that played into it and the political reality of a weaponized Secret Service leadership. I just wanted to highlight that. If people want to know what's going on, just listen to the last minute. But sorry, brother, go ahead.
Yeah, there's no difference, by the way, between Director Cheadle resigning and Ronald Rowe, who is the second in the actual stack. We know for a fact that he had the approval and disapprovals on his desk, just like Cheadle does. So I don't feel any safer or any more secure for the president, given the fact that nothing's really changed. No one's been held accountable. There's been no charges. And the fact that they're actually just utilizing a couple of scapegoats to say, well, we've released 5 officers, 1 from the Pittsburgh field office and 4 from the Pittsburgh field office and 1 from the actual detail itself. That's still not accountability. You know this. That's still not going ahead and saying, what are we doing about the 3 encrypted accounts that Thomas Crooks had? How did a 20-year-old have not only, and this is from the EOD team, sophisticated explosive devices with a multi-channel detonator at 20 years old? What 20-year-old has no social media presence? Why is his parents lawyering up with the biggest lawyers in Pittsburgh without trying to say, hey, we'll work and we'll try and come with you? And talking to Attorney General Pam Bondi, the former Attorney General here in Florida, she said she's never seen a criminal scene, a crime scene, released as quickly as this one was. Within a matter of days, the home was swept. The parents were allowed to come in and out the entire time, so we have no idea what kind of tampering of evidence. And you know for a fact from the photos, we also had the FBI. Remember, Cheadle said that it was too sloped of a roof to put someone on. Then you had the FBI up there only days after it with a water hose, washing away evidence, washing away the blood, and washing away potential powder trails from the actual spot where it was shot itself. These are facts. And when you have the committee, which is assigned by Congress, who I appreciate my colleagues wanting to be on this and trying to do their best, but they're saying they're not going to have an actual document put together until after the elections in December. Are you kidding me? This is unserious, and that's pathetic. We need to be doing this every single day, which is why we've already had a forum before they were even willing to have a conference call. And so I'm going to stay on this. I'm not going to back down. And we've been threatened with ethics violations. I have people who are, and I'll tell you, Cash, you know this all too well. They're going to come after my credibility. They're going to come after my name. They're going to come after and try and dilute me down. You're going to have people claiming they're conservatives who are going to be attacking me in this next 62 days because I'm not backing down. And guess what? I don't care. You want to come after me? Bring it. My whole point is that I'm going to continue to put out the facts. I'm going to continue to try and serve and do what I'm supposed to as a constitutional conservative. I'm going to believe in fiscal responsibility, which is why I wasn't on that commission, because I don't vote for these bloated appropriation bills that are driving us to an economic abyss. So you're going to see where they're going to keep coming after guys like us, because we're coming after the left and the right, because we're going to call facts. We're going to call balls and strikes. And we got to get to the bottom of who's truly accountable for the attempted assassination on President Trump.
And that's it, my brother. Thank you for just kicking butt for the American people on accountability and not the pretense of fake accountability. Everyone is sick and tired. I mean, just think about this. A president of the United States was shot, and it took Congress over a month to stand up, quote unquote, a committee. And they stood up that committee in a month in which it's in recess for another 35 days after that. So what you've done, you and Eli Crane and others have done on your own, is more than congressional committees do in multiple sessions of Congress. So thank you for sticking with it. I'm there with whatever you need. I will volunteer my time. I've offered it time and time again to anyone in Congress.
This is America's committee. This isn't a congressional committee. This is America's committee.
I love that. I love it. Now, I know while we have you, I want to hit 2 other.
Yeah, this is one. It's just amazing that we're here right now, right? Like literally. I think. What's interesting is there's I think a lot of stuff right now that's exemplifying their darkness, their cheating, there, but they've been doing this stuff all along. I mean, but this is like Watergate level stuff that we're living through right now that they're failing on. We had 9/11, we had Watergate, we had Gulf of Tonkin, we had Pearl Harbor. We had a lot of things that have happened for a very long time. Deep State's been in charge a long time, guys. A long time. I'm not sure exactly how far back. I've got some good estimates. I've got some solid theories with some a lot of years of just studying this stuff. There's a crazy amount of different things we've encountered or uncovered is probably better. Donald Trump's going to be live with town hall thing with Sean Hannity this Wednesday, I guess, September 4th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Curious about that one. I might try to do that live. We'll see. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I'm just mentioning it now. I might, because it's early enough, especially where it won't even be an issue with my girlfriend. But I don't know if it's necessary. It might be fun, though. It might be fun to do an hour plus live show tomorrow afternoon. So we'll look for that. I'll put up a thing if it's going to happen. One of those interim videos. You have to do that in Rumble. You create a little holder video, and then that way people know. And then, by the way, just for all of you guys that are Rumble fans, first off, please hit the thumbs up, you guys. I love you guys. Please hit that thumbs up. Whatever platform you're on, it helps me tremendously. Also, whatever platform you're on, make sure you're subscribed too, please. It's super helpful in the big picture. But all these things said, I don't even know where I was going to go. Yeah, Sean Hannity's going to play it live. Oh, yeah, the thumbnail, you got to put it there. It tells you in the bottom what time it actually starts. It shows the countdown. A lot of you guys might not know that. So if you scroll down a little bit, like usually above the description, but kind of below the video, it'll show how much time before the live video starts. That's one of the cool things about setting those things in advance is it gives you a countdown. So no matter what the time zones are and confusingness about that, because that is confusing. I've made mistakes many a time. But yeah, 5:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. I know I got to convert. It'd be like 2:30 my time. So it'll be interesting, but it might be pulling this off. It could be fun. We'll check it out. But yeah, I don't know. I spent too much time on that for sure. Here's Donald Trump talking to this gentleman. Don't know who he is, but good stuff.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. They do that for danger, too, because, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Amen. And that's... Again, Trump's calling out that there is part of this, and something that a lot of people don't get is, well, just say it, just release it. There is some, one, legalities, two, just danger inherent causes people to almost go crazy, so it could instantly put someone's life at risk because there are a lot of nut jobs out there in the world. Some of you may be like, I wouldn't do that. You might not, but there's a lot of nut jobs out there that would. So there's things to consider, and if, say, you've been accused of breaking the law, and maybe you're guilty of breaking the law, you certainly don't want to get mauled by the public, right? Right? I mean, just to a rational person, you got to kind of be fair as much. I mean, yeah, these are slime, and there's a lot of people that really just like, they've done evil to children. We don't know exactly what they've done. We're accusing them. If they are guilty of evil, yeah, dude. And first off, that's kind of God's job anyway, in my opinion, first off. But whatever, let's not go there. I know, it's a bridge too far. Tennessee Star has released the manifesto that was left by the transgender covenant school killer, Audrey Hale. And so one of the big things that came out about this was that she literally didn't feel safe or healthy on her own body. She was into this little octagon thing they were talking about and the way it's colored. And so she always felt she was upset that her brain didn't work right. And so she had a lot of issues. I'd be very curious what meds they had her on. She says why does my brain not work right? Because I was born wrong. Because that's what society tells everybody right now. Think about just the damage we do. I wish people understood, again, how extraordinarily easy it is to manipulate people. I don't like to try to teach it. It's certainly something I never would teach. It's just like one of those things that you learn, I guess. But To be able to influence people is what the propaganda media does. They use all of the key tricks that you would use, all of them. It is 100%. I would put it in the realm of hypnosis, but it's actually far more powerful than that even. But in that realm. So many factors going on. Even the 60 hertz supposedly has some issues with us psychologically. This is what's happening. We've got people that are, I guess, snapping, or people that they're literally activating, which I think is what this is. I think this was an asset that was activated. American Ninja, I should almost try to see. I don't know if I could pull it up. American Ninja. There it was. American Ultra. All right. I had to edit the crap out of that. This is an awesome movie. I own this DVD. If you want to learn anything about MK Ultra, and this is like blatant, straight up, verbatim, it is probably out of their manual. This movie, they barely change anything. Seriously, it's actually a decent movie. I love the dude because I love Zombieland. Love the dude. I just love this dude. And the character he plays is so outside of what you expect of him. And again, I'm just telling you, folks, it's been happening for a long time. Dutch authorities fined U.S. facial recognition firm Clearview AI 30.5 million euros Tuesday for illegally creating a database with billions of photos of faces, which they called a massive rights breach. This is going to be another thing that's going to pop up a bunch. Oh boy, all this Brazilian stuff's getting interesting. So at first, a bad story came out from somebody we generally trust, and unfortunately he cleared his name, which is good because I make mistakes too. Brazilian paper unpublishes claim that a Supreme Court will no longer enforce fines on Brazilians who accessed X via VPN. There was a story that came out for a short period of time that they were no longer going to punish people for using a VPN in Brazil. Now, I'm wondering if that was done on purpose so they could bust a bunch of people that would immediately flip to their VPNs and start looking at it immediately, right, and posting stuff, because he would argue that they are the ones that are most dangerous because they immediately did it, right? You follow my thinking? So I think they did it on purpose. They then retracted it so the common everyday person never would have heard a thing about it and changed their ruling to go back. So it turns out that the evil dictator Moronis is in fact a very evil dictator and has banned VPNs. Now, here's somebody that's showing you how to do it in Virtual Shield. I actually have Brave. I don't know if I've ever set it up, and I don't want to go clicking on stuff that God knows what it's going to show. It's not a good idea. I mean, I can edit it, but I don't want to. But yeah, you can set your area for Brazil. Now, one of the reasons you would do this is it's just extra traffic that they're going to look at and go, oh, this is someone that did it. And then they're going to be like, oh, it's an American. Damn it. But it will make you a criminal if you post anything. And that's the other side of it. You kind of got to post something that's critical of Moraes. And I'm not trying to say you should do that. I'm just saying those are the things that he considers a crime. So not just being on a VPN in Brazil and being on Twitter, that's not really against the law. It is, but it's not as against the law. If you say something or post something that's not helpful with this Moraes guy, well, that's a different story there, cowboy. You can get yourself in a world of trouble. So my point is don't ever go to Brazil if you're going to do this, or at least not for a very long time, because you will be arrested. Just saying. Deep State knows where you're at. So don't do it and then go to Brazil. Don't be one of these people that goes to Brazil often and be like, I'm going to help my fellow friends down in Brazil. Right? And then, you're screwed, dude. So don't do that. Don't do that. All right. Musk, the evil tyrant is a disgrace to judges' robes. I don't know what this crazy, he's got someone holding his robe. This dude's like, and I like the witch's belt. Right? Like, he should have a big giant wart on his nose. It's just like Pinocchio size level wart. Right? And doing all that cackling Kamala Harris type stuff. Right? Look at that gay belt. What is up with your gay ass belt? Dude, it should be a crime to wear that, frankly. Let's be honest. I like the stars, at least pointed upward. I don't know what's going on there. There's probably some crazy symbolism and all that. First time I'm aware of, I don't know, you guys, again, no one's corrected me yet, but it could pop up. But first time I'm aware of where a court took over a country. This is pretty rad. I mean, it's jacked up, but I don't think it's ever been done. Well done, guys. Well done, Deep State. That's fantastic. U.S. Navy personnel from the USS Wasp was abducted after disembarking in Izmir, Turkey. First off, not a great idea, and him and his buddy, I think, got pretty chastised, but here's Here's him and his buddy getting, well, it's not treated well. Okay, so brainwashing is a funny thing. Again, don't hate Turkish people, but I don't think this guy was necessarily. Look at the way he's dressed. Look at his bright ass white, freshly shaved head. I don't know, just something about this doesn't look like. He doesn't look like someone that's had a shaved head for a while, and certainly a leather neck on a boat in any way, shape, or form. Right? Like, look how white his head is. I don't know. This whole thing looks kind of, sort of planned. I don't know. I said it out loud. It's not cool if it's actual legit. But that, I don't know, the dude looks a little, yeah, it just doesn't seem right. But who knows? Maybe they're that stupid. U.S. soldiers assaulted in western Turkey, so now we're supposed to be mad at Turkey. Again, Turkey is quite possibly going to get angry with Israel, or, I don't know, Turkey's doing some interesting stuff. They're almost kind of keeping the balance. They are technically a NATO country, and that could change. So, there's some weird stuff at work, folks. Weird stuff. Politico put this out. Sorry, not sorry, says Mongolia. We talked about this yesterday, right? They were supposed to arrest Putin. Mongolia's like, yeah, no, not going to do that. Sorry, guys. We're in between China and Russia, and we need oil and energy and stuff, and we need it cheap. So, sorry. Which is great, I think. So one more country steps aside. A country that dresses very nicely. That's a beautiful suit. Beautiful suit. Well done. And again, Putin, I don't know. I've heard the original Putin was a bit taller, but I'm not sure if that's right. Anywho, whatever the kid, maybe this dude's a giant next to him. Giant Asian that played basketball and then got into politics. Who knows? Zelensky says Ukraine plans to indefinitely hold Russian territory it has seized. I was going to play it. It's just stupid. It's funny because at first he starts talking in Ukrainian or whatever. And he's like, the goose there, they go up there, right? And then you're like, what? Huh? And then the translator's like, he said that the other day you came down and punched him in the face. And then all of a sudden he finishes out the other half of the interview speaking English. It's like, really? F you in the F hole, dog. Anywho, they supposedly took some territory within Russia or Russian. They're calling it Russian territory. Let's use the words correctly. I can't believe they went into Russia and took territory. Was it territory that Russia had already grabbed from them that used to be Ukrainian and they sort of took it back, which I think is what happened based off the region that they were attacking in. But we'll see. Russia, maybe not in direct relation to Zelensky being stupid, but this building. So Here's what I'm going to give you my best assessment of this, okay? You guys may not believe me, may not want to call me names. I don't care. We're going to deal with that. That's a building that got blown up big time by Russia, by Putin, okay? And they're saying a whole bunch of people died in this. And I don't think that's cool. That's probably true, though. Their missile strike hit Ukrainian city of Poltava, and it killed at least 41 people and injured 180 others. Now, my guess is this is a building where State Department people lived, or military people lived, or something along those lines, almost guaranteed. Okay, so did it hurt other people in the area? Probably. Did it seem to really heavily focus in this particular building, not to mention all 3 floors? Very much, right? Very much. Look at the giant, right down all 3, right? I don't know if I can, yeah, all 3, 4. So that's knowing people are there is what that was. Now, again, they're saying children, I get it. All that stuff is true, but it is what it is. All right. United States campaign finance controversy. This goes back to 96. I didn't know about this. United States campaign controversy referred to as Chinagate. You guys might remember that? Anyway, Bill Clinton was kind of tied into this, and it was about China buying influence in this country and buying technology and actually getting a hold of that. And then, gee whiz, he ends up being elected anyway, and all this crazy stuff that he actually did. And then we had this whole Chinagate. I guess, I don't know. We'll close out with this. We're going to close out with this final Chinagate. What was I going to show? Oh, yeah, whatever. Chinagate, and this is, I think, like a Clinton thing. This is a neat little synopsis that was put together. It's worth sharing. I love you guys. We are going to continue to move forward, and we are making a huge difference. And don't let them tell you what's going to happen. Please, if you learn anything from me, understand I've done over 1,000 videos of manifesting and crap. Like, I'm very into that. If that makes you think I'm crazy, cool. If not, you understand this is something I very much believe in and I have used in my life. And it's working very well and has been for years. What you focus on is what we bring attention to. And if you believe in what somebody else tells you is how things are going to be, and you think about that and think about that and think about that, you're actually helping that happen. But if you think about something else, like how you'd like it to be, what do you want the world to be like? Wouldn't it be cool if we had peace, right? Like, think of some of that kind of great stuff, and you're ushering in those thoughts. This is why each one of us has our part to play in this. What are you contributing? What are you taking in your mind? Are you watching a bunch of this negative stuff because you want to know what the enemy's doing? Well, what you're doing is polluting your mind. You're putting a bunch of negative and evil and hurtful and angering thoughts into your mind. And what it is you get addicted to the emotional response. So this idea that you're watching what the enemy's doing is full of shit. And I would ask each and every one of you to think differently and actually start focusing and ingesting information that's going to benefit you and the big picture. Focusing on where we're going and what we're doing. Of course, the deep state's trying to do all sorts of stuff, but what we're trying to do matters more. Way more. There's way more of us. Way, way, way the frick more of us. Don't believe them. There's not that many of them. This is our world. We own it. We the people. It doesn't just mean some fancy thing they wrote in calligraphy on a frickin' document that we bury in the ground at night. No. It's actually real. You are the we. Or I'm the we in this case, right? You're the I, I'm the we in your story. We are the people. And what we think matters. We need to remember that. They've been doing this shit forever. Forever. It's coming to an end. And it's awesome to live through. And it's been a bit of a struggle for some of us that are directly involved in steering mankind. But we are going in the right direction. I love you guys. We're going to fine-tune everything as we get more and more in there, but that's where we need your help. You start thinking about what you'd like for a future, and that helps fine-tune the future we all share. It's called co-creating. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. I love you guys. Where we go one, we go all.
That's on 44. On 44.
Okay.
44. Okay. Ulysses Grant says that James Garfield, they hated each other and they had correspondence back and forth. Garfield has shown that he's not possessed of the backbone of an angleworm. they had some good ones there. A non-entity with side whiskers.
Yeah.
So,
looks as though Fred Thompson may be right about this campaign thing, huh?
About China.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has resurrected itself again. But what can Senator Thompson do now? I guess they
nothing. Nothing. Just not
kind of kick himself.
He looked sort of foolish there for a while,
right.
But
right.
And he was. Well, we made fun of him, didn't we? Just being totally,
maybe some vindication.
When it gets down to us making fun of him, and he's pretty much been made fun of by everybody, Like they made fun of him on the NewsHour with Jim Lehrer. So, but now we have Johnny Chung apparently handing the president a bag full of money, and we don't exactly have that aspect of it.
But I was wondering when I was here listening to the show this morning how you actually tell. They're calling for investigations to discover how the connection between whether or not the money given by the Chinese government to the Democrats affected the U.S. decision to sell satellite technology to China. And I wondered how it was possible to actually, tell that connection. I would think that...
Oh, I don't think it is.
I mean, it could go on forever.
When Mr. Chung wanted to go into the radio address for $50,000, were you concerned that Mr. Chung might have been thinking about taking money from the Chinese and giving it to the DNC? Was that one of your concerns about Mr. Chung? I asked you.
Yes, that was one of my concerns.
That was one of your concerns about Mr. Chung. Now, when you were being asked
about fundraising going on around.
Great, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'll talk about it tomorrow. I gotta go.
In 1998, America's attention was focused on scandal in the Oval Office. Public concern over this new round of suspected Clinton wrongdoings finally pushed Congress to act. However, news coverage implied that purely mean-spirited partisanship motivated the proceedings.
The great story here is this vast right-wing conspiracy that has been conspiring against my husband since the day he announced for president.
Suddenly, for the first time since Richard Nixon, a United States president faced the strong possibility of impeachment. Yet only a handful of viewers would learn the actual reasons why. Months before the Lewinsky scandal broke, Congress began investigating a scandal that had become known as Chinagate. Evidence suggested that the Clinton administration had compromised U.S. security in order to finance its re-election campaign. The Communist government of China was eager to acquire sensitive U.S. military technology and economic concessions. Through international money laundering, China funneled contributions into U.S. election campaigns and obtained privileged access to top U.S. officials. The communist money trail led all the way up to the Oval Office. If these facts were widely publicized, Clinton would face impeachment on grounds of bribery, and perhaps even treason. But the media misdirected public attention. Americans were told over and over again in 1,000 different ways that the only real complaints against Clinton were that he lied about sex. Yet more than a dozen of Clinton's appointees, business associates, and close friends were convicted of felonies since he assumed office in 1993. Many others implicated in the Chinagate scandal invoked the Fifth Amendment or fled the country altogether.